The Book of Jasher, Yashar, Chapter 1. And Elohim said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And Elohim created man in his own image. And Elohim formed man from the ground, and he blew into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living being, endowed with speech. And Yahuwah said, It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper for him. And Yahuwah caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. And he slept, and he took away one of his ribs, and he built flesh upon it, and formed it, and brought it to Adam. And Adam awoke from his sleep, and see, a woman was standing before him. And he said, This is a bone of my bones, and it shall be called woman, for this has been taken from man. And Adam called her name Hawa, for she was the mother of all living. And Elohim baraked them, and called their names Adam and Hawa in the day that he created them. And Yahuwah Elohim said, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth. And Yahuwah Elohim took Adam and his wife, and he placed them in the Garden of Eden, to tend it and to keep it. And he commanded them and said to them, From every tree of the garden you may eat, but from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it you shall certainly die. And when Elohim had baraked and commanded them, he went from them, and Adam and his wife dwelt in the garden, according to the command which Yahuwah had commanded them. And the serpent, which Elohim had created with them in the earth, came to them to incite them to transgress the command of Elohim, which he had commanded them. And the serpent enticed and persuaded the woman to eat from the tree of knowledge. And the woman listened to the voice of the serpent, and she transgressed the word of Elohim, and took from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and she ate. And she took from it and also gave to her husband, and he ate. And Adam and his wife transgressed the command of Elohim, which he commanded them. And Elohim knew it, and his wrath was kindled against them, and he cursed them. And Yahuwah Elohim drove them that day from the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from which they were taken. And they went and dwelt to the east of the Garden of Eden. And Adam knew his wife Hawa, and she bore 2 sons and 3 daughters. And she called the name of the firstborn Cain, saying, I have gotten a man from Yahuwah. And the name of the other she called Habel, for she said, In worthlessness we came into the earth, and in worthlessness we shall be taken from it. And the boys grew up, and their father gave them a possession in the land. And Cain was a tiller of the ground, and Habel a keeper of sheep. And it came to be, at the passing of a few years, that they brought an approximating offering to Yahuwah. And Cain brought from the fruit of the ground, and Habel brought from the firstlings of his flock, from the fat of it. And Elohim turned and inclined to Habel and his offering, and a fire came down from Yahuwah from the Shemayim, and consumed it. And Yahuwah did not turn to Cain and his offering, and he did not incline to it, for he had brought from the inferior fruit of the ground before Yahuwah. And Cain was jealous against his brother Habel because of this, and he sought a pretense to slay him. And in some time after, Cain and Habel his brother went one day into the field to do their work. And they were both in the field, Cain tilling and plowing his ground, and Habel feeding his flock. And the flock passed over that part which Cain had plowed in the ground, and for this it bitterly grieved Cain. And Cain approached his brother Habel in wrath, and he said to him, What is there between you and I, that you come to dwell and bring your flock to feed in my land? And Habel answered his brother Cain and said to him, What is there between you and I, that you should eat the flesh of my flock, and clothe yourself with their wool? And now, therefore, put off the wool of my sheep, with which you have clothed yourself, and recompense me, for their increase in flesh which you have eaten. And when you shall have done this, I will then go from your land, as you have said." And Cain said to his brother Abel, "Indeed, if I slay you this day, who will require your blood from me?" And Abel answered Cain, saying, "Indeed, Elohim, who has made us in the earth, he will avenge my cause, and he will require my blood from you, should you slay me. For Yahuwah is the judge and authority, and it is he who will repay man according to his evil, and the wicked man according to the wickedness that he may do upon earth. And now, if you should slay me, hear. Indeed, Elohim knows your secret thoughts, and will judge you for the evil which you declare to do to me this day." And when Cain heard the words which Abel his brother had spoken, see, the wrath of Cain was kindled against his brother Abel for declaring this word. And Cain hastened and rose up, and took the iron part of his plowing instrument, with which he suddenly smote his brother, and he slew him. And Cain spilled the blood of his brother Abel upon the earth, and the blood of Abel streamed upon the earth before the flock. And after this Cain repented, having slain his brother, and he was sadly grieved, and he wept over him, and it troubled him exceedingly. And Cain rose up and dug a hole in the field, wherein he put his brother's body, and he turned the dust over it. And Yahuwah knew what Cain had done to his brother, and Yahuwah appeared to Cain and said to him, "Where is Abel your brother that was with you?" And Cain pretended and said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" And Yahuwah said to him, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground where you have slain him. For you have slain your brother and have pretended before me, and thought in your heart that I did not see you, nor knew all your actions. But you did this matter and slew your brother for naught, but because he spoke rightly to you. And now, therefore, cursed are you from the ground which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand, and wherein you buried him. And it shall be, when you shall till it, it shall no more give you its strength as in the beginning, for the ground shall produce thorns and thistles, and you shall be moving and wandering in the earth until the day of your death." And at that time Cain went out from the presence of Yahuwah, from the place where he was, and he went moving and wandering in the land toward the east of Eden, he and all belonging to him. And Cain knew his wife in those days, and she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name Hanok, saying, "In that time Yahuwah began to give him rest and quiet in the earth." And at that time Cain also began to build a city, and he built the city, and he called the name of the city Hanok, according to the name of his son. For in those days Yahuwah had given him rest upon the earth, and he did not move about and wander as in the beginning. And Irad was born to Hanok, and Irad brought forth Mahuyael, and Mahuyael brought forth Methusael. Chapter 2. And it came to be in the 130th year of the life of Adam upon the earth, that he again knew Hawa his wife, and she conceived and bore a son in his likeness and in his image. And she called his name Sheth, saying, "Because Elohim has appointed me another seed in the place of Abel, for Cain has slain him." And Sheth lived 105 years, and he brought forth a son. And Sheth called the name of his son Enosh, saying, "Because in that time the sons of men began to multiply, and to afflict their beings and hearts by transgressing and rebelling against Elohim." And it came to be in the days of Enosh that the sons of men continued to rebel and transgress against Elohim, to increase the wrath of Yahuwah against the sons of men. And the sons of men went, and they served other mighty ones, and they forgot Yahuwah who had created them in the earth. And in those days the sons of men made images of brass and iron, wood and stone, and they bowed down and served them. And every man made his mighty one, and they bowed down to them. And the sons of men forsook Yahuwah all the days of Enosh and his children. And the wrath of Yahuwah was kindled because of their works and abominations, which they did in the earth. And Yahuwah caused the waters of the river Gihon to overwhelm them, and he destroyed and consumed them, and he destroyed the third part of the earth. However, the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were yet extended to do evil in the sight of Yahuwah. And in those days there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth, and there was no food for the sons of men, and the scarcity of food was very great in those days. And the seed which they sowed in those days in the ground became thorns, thistles, and briars. For from the days of Adam was this declaration concerning the earth, of the curse of Elohim, which he cursed the earth, because of the sin which Adam sinned before Yahuwah. And it came to be, when men continued to rebel and transgress against Elohim, and to corrupt their ways, that the earth also became corrupt. And Enosh lived 90 years, and he brought forth Canaan. And Canaan grew up, and he was 40 years old, and he became wise, and had knowledge and skill in all wisdom. And he reigned over all the sons of men, and he led the sons of men to wisdom and knowledge. For Canaan was a very wise man, and had understanding in all wisdom. And with his wisdom he ruled over spirits and demons. And Canaan knew by his wisdom that Elohim would destroy the sons of men for having sinned upon earth, and that Yahuwah would in the latter days bring the waters of the flood upon them. And in those days Canaan wrote on tablets of stone what was to take place in time to come, and he put them in his treasures. And Canaan reigned over the whole earth, and he turned some of the sons of men to the service of Elohim. And when Canaan was 70 years old, he brought forth 3 sons and 2 daughters. And these are the names of the children of Canaan. The name of the firstborn, Mahalael, the second, Enan, and the third, Mered, and their sisters were Adah and Selah. These are the 5 children of Canaan that were born to him. And Lamech, son of Methusael, became related to Canaan by marriage, and he took his 2 daughters for his wives. And Adah conceived and bore a son to Lamech, and she called his name Yabal. And she again conceived and bore a son, and called his name Ubal. And Silla her sister was barren in those days, and had no offspring. For in those days the sons of men began to trespass against Elohim, and to transgress the commandments which he had commanded to Adam, to be fruitful and multiply in the earth. And some of the sons of men caused their wives to drink a potion that would render them barren, in order that they might retain their figures, and whereby their good-looking appearance might not fade. And when the sons of men caused some of their wives to drink, Selah drank with them. And the childbearing women appeared abominable in the sight of their husbands and widows, while their husbands lived, for to the barren ones only they were attached. And in the end of days and years, when Selah became old, Yahuwah opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Tubal-Cain, saying, After I had withered away, have I obtained him from the Almighty Elohim. And she conceived again and bore a daughter, and she called her name Naamah. And she said, After I had withered away, have I obtained pleasure and delight. And Lamech was old and advanced in years, and his eyes were dim, that he could not see. And Tubal-Cain his son was leading him. And it came to be one day that Lamech went into the field, and Tubal-Cain his son was with him. And while they were walking in the field, Cain, son of Adam, advanced towards them. For Lamech was very old, and could not see much, and Tubal-Cain his son was very young. And Tubal-Cain told his father to draw his bow, and with the arrows he smote Cain, who was yet far off, and he slew him, for he appeared to them to be a beast. And the arrows entered Cain's body, although he was distant from them, and he fell to the ground and died. And Yahuwah repaid Cain's evil according to his wickedness, which he had done to his brother Abel, according to the word of Yahuwah, which he had spoken. And it came to be, when Cain had died, that Lamech and Tubal went to see the beast which they had slain. And they looked, and see, Cain their grandfather was fallen dead upon the earth. And Lamech was very much grieved at having done this, and in clapping his hands together he struck his son, and caused his death. And the wives of Lamech heard that what Lamech had done, and they sought to kill him. And the wives of Lamech hated him from that day, because he slew Cain and Tubal-Cain, and the wives of Lamech separated from him, and would not listen to him in those days. And Lamech came to his wives, and he pressed them to listen to him about this matter. And he said to his wives Adah and Selah, Hear my voice, O wives of Lamech, attend to my words, for now you have thought and said that I slew a man with my wounds, and a child with my stripes, for their having done no violence, and know that I am indeed old and gray-headed, and that my eyes are heavy through age, and I did this matter unknowingly. And the wives of Lamech listened to him in this matter, and they returned to him with the advice of their father Adam, but they bore no children to him from that time, knowing that Elohim's wrath was increasing in those days against the sons of men, to destroy them with the waters of the flood for their evil doings. And Mahalalel, son of Canaan, lived 65 years, and he brought forth Yared. And Yared lived 62 years, and he brought forth Hanok. Chapter 3. And Hanok lived 65 years, and he brought forth Methuselah. And Hanok walked with Elohim after having brought forth Methuselah, and he served Yahuwah, and despised the evil ways of men. And the being of Hanok was bound up in the instruction of Yahuwah, in knowledge and in understanding, and he wisely retired from the sons of men, and hid himself from them for many days. And it came to be at the passing of many years, while he was serving Yahuwah, and praying before him in his house, that a messenger of Yahuwah called to him from the Shemaim, and he said, Here I am. And he said, Rise, go out from your house and from the place where you hide yourself, and appear to the sons of men, in order that you may teach them the way in which they should go, and the work which they must accomplish, to enter in the ways of Elohim. And Hanok rose up according to the word of Yahuwah, and went out from his house, from his place, and from the chamber in which he was concealed. And he went to the sons of men, and taught them the ways of Yahuwah. And all that time assembled the sons of men, and made known to them the instruction of Yahuwah. And he ordered it to be proclaimed in all places where the sons of men dwelt, saying, Where is the man who wishes to know the ways of Yahuwah, and good works? Let him come to Hanok. And all the sons of men then assembled to him, for all who desired the word went to Hanok. And Hanok ruled over the sons of men, according to the word of Yahuwah. And they came and bowed to him, and they heard his word. And the Ruach of Elohim was upon Hanok, and he taught all his men the wisdom of Elohim and his ways. And the sons of men served Yahuwah all the days of Hanok, and they came to hear his wisdom. And all the sovereigns of the sons of men, both first and last, together with their princes and judges, came to Hanok when they heard of his wisdom. And they bowed down to him, and they also required of Hanok to rule over them, to which he consented. And they assembled 130 sovereigns and princes in all, and they made Hanok sovereign over them, and they were all under his power and command. And Hanok taught them wisdom and knowledge and the ways of Yahuwah, and he made peace among them, and peace was throughout the earth during the life of Hanok. And Hanok ruled over the sons of men 243 years. And he did right ruling and righteousness with all his people, and he led them in the ways of Yahuwah. And these are the generations of Hanok: Methuselah, Elisha, and Elimelech. 3 sons, and their sisters were Milcah and Naamah. And Methuselah lived 87 years, and he brought forth Lamech. And it came to be in the 56th year of the life of Lamech, when Adam died. He was 930 years old at his death, and his 2 sons, with Hanok and Methuselah, his son, buried him with great ceremony, as at the burial of sovereigns, in the cave which Elohim had told him. And in that place all the sons of men made a great mourning and weeping for the sake of Adam. It has therefore become a custom among the sons of men to this day. And Adam died because he ate of the tree of knowledge, he and his children after him, as Yahuwah Elohim had spoken. And it came to be in the year of Adam's death, which was the 243rd year of the reign of Hanok. At that time Hanok resolved to separate himself from the sons of men, and to hide himself, as at first in order to serve Yahuwah. And Hanok did so, but did not entirely hide himself from them, but kept away from the sons of men 3 days, and then went to them for 1 day. And during the 3 days that he was in his room, he prayed to and praised Yahuwah his Elohim. And the day on which he went and appeared to his subjects, he taught them the ways of Yahuwah, and they all asked him about Yahuwah. He told them. And he did in this manner for many years, and afterward he concealed himself for 6 days, and appeared to his people 1 day in 7, and after that once a month, and then once in a year, until all the sovereigns, princes, and sons of men sought for him, and desired again to see the face of Hanok, and to hear his word, but they could not, as all the sons of men were greatly afraid of Hanok. And they feared to approach him because of the reverent awe that remained on his appearance. Therefore no man could look at him, fearing he might be punished and die. And all the sovereigns and princes resolved to assemble the sons of men, and to come to Hanok, thinking that they might all speak to him at the time when he should come out among them, and they did so. And the day came when Hanok went out, and they all assembled and came to him. And Hanok spoke to them the words of Yahuwah, and he taught them wisdom and knowledge. And they bowed down before him, and they said, "May the sovereign live, may the sovereign live." And some time after, when the sovereigns and princes and the sons of men were speaking to Hanok, and Hanok was teaching them the ways of Elohim, see, a messenger of Yahuwah then called to Hanok from the Shemaim, and wanted to bring him up to the Shemaim, to make him reign there over the sons of Elohim, as he had reigned over the sons of men on earth. When at that time Hanok heard that, he went and assembled all the inhabitants of the earth, and taught them wisdom and knowledge, and gave them righteous instruction. And he said to them, "I have been required to go up to the Shemaim. I therefore do not know the day of my going. And now therefore I will teach you wisdom and knowledge, and will give you instruction before I leave you, how to act on earth whereby you may live." And he did so. And he taught them wisdom and knowledge, and gave them instruction, and he reproved them, and he placed before them laws and right rulings to do on earth. And he made shalom among them, and he taught them everlasting life, and dwelt with them some time, teaching them all these matters. And at that time the sons of men were with Hanok, and Hanok was speaking to them, and they lifted up their eyes, and the likeness of a great horse descended from the Shemaim, and the horse paced in the air. And they told Hanok what they had seen, and Hanok said to them, "For my sake this horse has descended on earth. The time is come when I must go from you, and I shall no more be seen by you." And the horse descended at that time, and stood before Hanok, and all the sons of men that were with Hanok saw him. And Hanok then again ordered a voice to be proclaimed, saying, Where is the man who delights to know the ways of Yahuwah his Elohim? Let him come this day to Hanok before he is taken from us. And all the sons of men assembled and came to Hanok that day. And all the sovereigns of the earth were with their princes, and counselors remained with him that day. And Hanok then taught the sons of men wisdom and knowledge, and gave them divine instruction. And he instructed them to serve Yahuwah and walk in his ways all the days of their lives. And he continued to make shalom among them. And it came to be after this that he rose up and rode on the horse. And he went out, and all the sons of men went after him, about 800,000 men, and they went with him 1 day's journey. And the second day he said to them, Return home to your tents. Why should you go? Maybe you may die. And some of them went from him, and those that remained went with him 6 days' journey. And Hanok said to them, Every day, return to your tents, lest you may die. But they were not willing to return, and they went with him. And on the 6th day some of the men remained and clung to him, and they said to him, We will go with you to the place where you go. As Yahuwah lives, only death shall separate us. And they urged so much to go with him that he ceased speaking to them, and they went after him and would not return. And when the sovereigns returned, they caused a census to be taken, in order to know the number of remaining men that went with Hanok. And it came to be upon the 7th day that Hanok went up into the Shemaim in a whirlwind, with horses and chariots of fire. And on the 8th day all the sovereigns that had been with Hanok sent to bring back the number of men that were with Hanok in that place, from which he went up into the Shemaim. And all the sovereigns went to the place, and they found the earth there filled with snow, and on the snow were large stones of snow. And one said to the other, Come, let us break through the snow, and see, maybe the men that remained with Hanok are dead, and are now under the stones of snow. And they searched, but could not find him, for he had gone up into the Shemaim. Chapter 4. And all the days that Hanok lived upon earth were 365 years. And when Hanok had gone up into the Shemaim, all the sovereigns of the earth rose and took Methuselah his son, and anointed him, and they caused him to reign over them in the place of his father. And Methuselah acted uprightly in the sight of Elohim, as his father Hanok had taught him. And he likewise, during the whole of his life, taught the sons of men wisdom, knowledge, and the reverence of Elohim. And he did not turn from the good way, either to the right or to the left. But in the latter days of Methuselah, the sons of men turned from Yahuwah. They corrupted the earth, they robbed and plundered each other, and they rebelled against Elohim. And they transgressed, and they corrupted their ways, and would not listen to the voice of Methuselah, but rebelled against him. And Yahuwah was exceedingly wroth against them, and Yahuwah continued to destroy the seed in those days, so that there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth. For when they sowed the ground in order that they might obtain food for their support, see, thorns and thistles were produced, which they did not sow. And still the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were still extended to do evil in the sight of Elohim. And they provoked Yahuwah with their evil ways. And Yahuwah was very wroth, and was sorry that he had made man. And he thought to destroy and annihilate them, and he did so. In those days when Lamech, son of Methuselah, was 160 years old, Sheth, son of Adam, died. And all the days that Sheth lived were 912 years, and he died. And Lamech was 180 years old when he took Ashmua, the daughter of Elishua, son of Hanok, his uncle, and she conceived. And at that time the sons of men sowed the ground, and a little food was produced. Yet the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and they trespassed and rebelled against Elohim. And the wife of Lamech conceived and bore him a son at that time, at the turn of the year. And Methuselah called his name Noah, saying, In his days the earth was at rest, and free from corruption. And Lamech, his father, called his name Menahem, saying, This one shall comfort us in our works and miserable toil in the earth, which Elohim had cursed. And the child grew up and was weaned, and he went in the ways of his father Methuselah, perfect and upright with Elohim. And all the sons of men departed from the ways of Yahuwah in those days, as they multiplied upon the face of the earth with sons and daughters. And they taught one another their evil practices, and they continued sinning against Yahuwah. And every man made for himself a mighty one, and they robbed and plundered every man, his neighbor as well as his relative. And they corrupted the earth, and the earth was filled with violence. And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men, and took their wives by force from their husbands, according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the birds of the air, and taught the mixture of animals of one species with the other, in order to provoke Yahuwah by it. And Elohim saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways on earth, all men and all animals. And Yahuwah said, I will blot out man, that I created from the face of the earth, from man to the birds of the air, together with cattle and beasts that are in the field, for I am sorry that I made them. And all men who walked in the ways of Yahuwah died in those days, before Yahuwah brought the evil upon man which he had declared. For this was from Yahuwah, that they should not see the evil which Yahuwah spoke of concerning the sons of men. And Noah found favor in the sight of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah chose him and his children to raise up seed from them upon the face of the whole earth.